So, Chie, hello, and thank you for agreeing to this informal interview between co-creators. The first thing I wanted to say was thank you so much for doing the manga element of this book. It was always going to be a huge part of it, and I'm just immensely relieved and happy and satisfied with the results you've produced. It's really thrilled me. So I wondered if I could ask you a few questions about your experience of doing the manga part. I believe we have a town in common. I think, you know, I live near Cambridge, and I think Cambridge was the first place you came to when you came to the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And what year was that? How long ago?
It was long time ago. It's early 90s.
And I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about what your experience was like coming to England as a young Japanese female artist. Was it difficult? Did you find your feet immediately? Did you know what you were trying to do?
Yeah, I was not that young, and so I know what I want to do, and then I was already fell in love with the UK. That's why I choose to come here.
Okay.
So there are a lot of different options for Japanese to, you know, go somewhere to learn English, but I didn't choose, for example, America or Australia, because I fell in love with the UK already. So
was that through cultural things, or was it through images, or what had brought you to that love?
I don't know. I actually traveled around Europe beforehand, and when I arrived in UK, that was my first visit to UK. I don't know. I just knew. It's like, you know, when you meet someone, you're going to get married. Some people said you automatically knows that I'm going to marry this person. Right? That's exactly same. I think same feeling towards the UK. I don't know why, but I just feel I think I will come back here to live at least for a few years or something. So that's my feeling. I think it's, and also the cultural things. Yeah, obviously, I love music and everything. So
it's interesting. I mean, because I know we were going to talk about this later, but maybe I'll talk about why I fell in love with Japan.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, because I was a strange child. I was a child who was really struggling to find my place in the world all through school. And then when I was about 10 or 11, I was always interested in the big questions of life, you know, like why are we here? What happens when we die? All this kind of stuff. And I picked up a book called The World of Zen. And it just was an anthology of pictures about Zen Buddhism, but also Japan. And I opened it at a picture of Ryanji Rock Garden in Kyoto. And immediately I just thought, oh, this is like deeply significant. I think this is something I know or understand or feel at home with. So ever since then, I was always looking east. And when I went to university, I had a choice between doing Chinese and Japanese. And for very strange reasons, I chose Chinese because everyone was doing Japanese then, and I always did the opposite. So in Japanese, you have amanajaku.
Yeah.
Someone who deliberately does the opposite to everyone else.
Yeah.
So this was what I did. But then I followed my interest in Japan, and I became I formed a very deep friendship with this Japanese guy called Yoshio Kanemaru, who's a writer, academic, and we traveled a lot, and I got to go to Japan. And as soon as I got there, I thought, this is where I need to be as much as possible. And I don't know, I think then when so my interest deepened and I started trying to learn Japanese, and yeah, here we are. So so in a way we're mirroring each other then, aren't we?
Exactly.
Yeah. Falling in love with each other's culture. So and then did you know you wanted to be a manga artist then at that point?
No, I didn't know what I wanted to be. But when I first came to the UK, I just wanted to be able to speak in English. And then I actually did a lot of different things to find, and then I even, I did really, I did a lot of things, I'm lucky to be allowed to do that. And finally, actually, I became a fine artist who's like creating like fine art. But then I realized that who I want to show my art and who I want to communicate with in the world, then I thought a medium, manga, might be the best medium.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I had never, until a few years ago, I hadn't really delved deep into the older history of manga, and particularly into Gekiga, that I've become very interested in this sort of alternative manga as well, and realizing the vast array of things you can do with it.
Yeah.
So then when I thought, well, I'm going to write about Tsunami Girl, from the start I knew I wanted to have this manga component, and I needed to persuade a publisher that it would work as an idea. So then when we met, we had a very interesting conversation, an honest conversation. You're quite straightforward.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you think you've changed for being in England for so long? Do you think that has changed the way you are?
I was naive, reasonably naive when I first came here. I mean, and then I was like quite liberal because my father is a very liberal person. He actually told me to he's still telling me so, but to doubt everything, ask everything. If you think it's not right, ask, that kind of thing. And then even if you feel this is right, still ask if is it. Okay. Yeah. And then look for the answer or look for the other options. Don't trust everything straight away, and then don't hold one idea, and don't be too stubborn. Sometimes you need to be stubborn. So that's I was told to. So I was a bit strange as a female. I was a bit strange and way too strong, like opinionated as a Japanese from the beginning. But that part actually get more and more strong, much stronger now, I think.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And again, it's another parallel for me because my dad was a very non-standard approach, quite left-wing. He was a pacifist in World War II. He really taught us as we were growing up to think for ourselves, and question things. And so then my second degree was philosophy at university, so you end up questioning everything and then not taking anything at face value. But that's interesting. So you were coming from quite an honest point of view already for a Japanese woman anyway.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But it was not, it was like, I was like, I didn't know which way I should go. I was like, I had two of myself inside me. Very strong, opinionated one. And the other one is sweet, gullible, typical young girl kind of thing. So I was always like, But now this part is almost weird completely.
You still seem very nice to me. So when I approached you through, we've got a friend in common, Emma Viacelli, and she said, Chie might be able to help you because Bella, the publisher, and I had become very convinced we wanted a Japanese artist on the project. I mean, the book is about a girl who is a quarter Japanese, and a quarter of the book is manga and 3/4 are prose, and in the sort of bulk balance. So it just seems so right to get a Japanese artist, so that it ends up the creative team is sort of the same balance, if you see what I mean. But you asked me straight away, I think in an email, he said, I have some reservations. Not quite that, but I can't remember what you said, but do you remember what you felt immediately?
I thought obviously it sounds actually very exciting and interesting. But also it was I just thought there might be a danger of I don't know. I've met some foreigners who idealized Japan.
Yeah, I think it's and it's one thing, luckily, because I've been through my Oriental studies. It was called Oriental Studies in those days. The dangers of Orientalism, either of elevating it and idealizing it, or the exact opposite, and not seeing just the real lived life of real people.
Yeah, that's true. And then also, I think I was really honest with you that some people feel more privileged over, or patronizing over, not only Japanese people, but Asian, Oriental people. They don't notice they are doing so.
Yeah,
but there's that kind of thing. Sometimes I feel that kind of thing. So I was like, because of the subject is quite delicate, and then there are people who are still suffering. So I just want to make sure that you
we're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, very quickly, I knew what I had to do. It's funny because I don't think you choose stories as a writer. I think stories choose you, and once they got hold of you, you don't. It's very hard to walk away from them. And so early on, I went to Fukushima and went to the radiation zone, and I wanted to talk to people in the towns around a lot, but also basically just to say, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you feel about it? And everyone was so supportive. Now, I know in Japan people tend to say yes. But I think as a therapist, all the years as a therapist, I'm quite good at reading to a degree when people mean it or not. And people were so supportive and so encouraging. And then I thought, well, I'll try and do it, and I'll try and do it as delicately and respectfully as possible, and make it the story about someone who is partly an outsider. So Yuki, although she has this deep family root in the area, she's lived most of her life away from it. So she's got one foot sort of in Japan and one foot not. And I thought that would hopefully give a bit of safety.
Yeah, I think that's actually make me a little bit relieved. The first thing is, as you said, you did a lot of research. I can see that, and then you made a lot of friends in that area. And also the main character, she is not totally Japanese.
No.
So there might be some misunderstanding within her, which is natural, but she also understood some parts more than other, for example, English people who never been to Japan. So I think it's the balance of her is really, I mean, you set her in that kind of character is actually, I found it really, I don't know how to say that, really good, clever. I don't know. It's a best way to,
it seemed
deal with this kind of.
Yeah, it seemed like a strategy that that could work. And then I also wanted to make sure I had not just you or whoever the artist was going to be happy with it, but also I got a Japanese sensitivity reader, a young woman sensitivity reader.
And also I think it's another thing. I think you've got like Japanese friend who proofread, and then so not only me reading your story, but there's another these people who
when I made my my friend Nanase cry several times and too afraid to go in the dark after reading it, I thought, well, this is probably all right. So I was very grateful that we had that conversation very early on.
Sorry about my honesty. Sorry.
Oh no! It's absolutely fine. And strangely enough, I think a much better way for us to work. You know, when you're working creatively, it's much better to be honest from the start. So I wondered what your experience was then when the tsunami happened, because you were in the UK.
Yeah, I was in the UK. Yeah, I remember I was actually sleeping, and then I woke up. Then I think the first thing I did is I looked at Twitter or something as usual, and then there's a news, and then I was really shocked. So I tried to call my parents, but I couldn't reach them for a while. So it made me really panicky. And but I knew my area was not very far away from the affected area, but not too close to be affected that much. So I just hoping, you know, my family. First thing is sorry, yeah, I should have worried other things, but first thing I was really worried is my parents, and because they're really quite old.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is I was like, I didn't. It was strange. I was. You never imagined that something that bad happened to your country.
Yeah, and I think this
in
is
your lifetime.
Yeah, and I think we know, from all my Japanese friends, I know everyone's used to earthquakes, but the scale of this, and this was the fourth biggest earthquake ever in the world, and the images, just the extraordinary images of the wave coming ashore. Yeah.
I mean, it was that when the big earthquake hit Kansai, West Japan area. I was also in the UK, and then my friends who from that area, they were like really panicking. But it was not like internet was not that common at that time. So I didn't get like really up to date information that much. And also, I'm not from that area completely.
Yeah.
So, and then all the friends who's from that area, their families and they are okay. So for me, it was not that hugely. It was sad and it was shocked, but it was like, a big earthquake. Oh, sorry for the older people.
Yeah.
That ordinary sense of sadness and shock. But
this one affected you deep inside.
Yeah, it sounds not very clever, but because my hometown was in that side of Japan, I felt it like more like reality, but also unrealistic, because I've never expected that kind of things happen to something I know. And then I watched few news and photographs. Then I was actually feel extremely depressed. So, and then in 2 or 3 days, I finally managed to talk with my parents.
Okay.
Then I felt a bit okay, but I started looking at the news and everything, which made me actually really, really depressed. And then I was like, I wanted to go back, but I couldn't.
Yeah. And this
And
is often from my therapy work, this is what I often see, is that when something bad happens in your home country and you're abroad, people just want to get back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, because if there is a second wave of the earthquake, which might be bigger, or and if the affected area moves towards near my house, but if I wasn't there, who helped my old parents? You know, it's really personal
And I
level
think,
things.
yeah, I think we have to remember that the radiation disaster was so uncertain that there was talk about evacuating Tokyo at one point.
Yeah. So it was like really, I don't know what's the best word. Annoying in a way to not to know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And then the things I cannot help them directly.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, worrying somewhere in safe place. And also personally, I kind of couldn't watch any video of the earthquake and then the radiation thing. So actually, I haven't watched video yet. I watched some because for this project.
Yeah, and it was strange because when I was writing the book, I looked at so many videos because I wanted to try and get a sense, because the thing is, it wasn't one event, it was 1,000 different events for 1,000 different people. Everyone's experience of the disaster was different, so I wanted to try and experience as much as possible. And I think I watched too many in the end, and I almost got overwhelmed by it. We had friends, old family friends, who were living in Fukushima City, and they'd been in there for 25 years. They were living up in Fukushima. And so we were getting daily emails from them saying, we're really worried the radiation is coming towards the city. No one knows what the radiation level it really is. So it was this sort of slow motion nature of the worry afterwards as well, plus the hundreds of aftershocks as well. Yeah.
I mean, it was when I watched some videos like after the event in the earthquake, I actually felt physically unwell. So I just thought, well, I shouldn't, watch this for my own, health.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really wise thing.
In a way, I didn't know much about it because I was avoiding all the videos, and of course I know the numbers, about which magnitude and how many people lost their lives and that kind of things. But I personally, I didn't watch much videos. I didn't read much news, and then I just looked at a few videos which the people saved a little dog from the tsunami. That which made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
So the first thing is I was not sure when you asked me to do. First thing was my thought was like, am I like person to do so? And also, am I okay to do so? Because I kind of, in a way, how do you put it? Traumatized.
Yeah.
And then I was avoiding everything.
Yeah. So what did you find was the hardest thing in bringing the manga script to life, do you think?
Well, emotional level, the hardest thing is get over with my own trauma. And but in the end, I thought it might be my therapy, to read your script and then feel as those character feels, and then it might be myself. So I kind of, first it was really actually in a way a bit difficult, even just when I first reading the script, it was like quite hard to read it. But
sorry.
Yeah, but after that, I was like, I feel like I must do it. Kind of,
Well,
I have to realize that story in, actually visual. I have to visualize it. So once I get over that part, the most difficult part is background. So many complicated background.
I'm sorry. I quite often I was writing descriptions of the scenery or the setting of the panel.
Yeah.
And I was feeling quite guilty about it. I think a couple of times in the script I wrote "sorry, Chie" in brackets.
Yeah. Yeah. But one good thing is it's in Fukushima, not in like New York. If it was in like New York or too urban area, I don't think I would be able to finish it.
Yeah. No, but it looks so good. And the nice thing for me is reading the manga part now really feels like the trips I made
that's great.
to the recovery towns. It has the right feel, it just reminds me of being there so much. So I think it's got, because this part of the coast is quite, before the disaster, it's just quite a sleepy backwater. It's people having normal lives, real lives, normal disasters, normal tragedies, normal joys. It's sort of, compared to the bustle of Tokyo, obviously it's a very very quiet space, and but that comes through so nicely. And and what did you, so hopefully you can answer this question, what did you enjoy the most?
I enjoyed most well, because I was really impressed by the story. The whole experience is really, I'm not saying this because you're there or you're listening. It was just that the whole journey was really pleasant and enjoyable. And then also, I think I like the idea you mentioned, that Gekiga and then Garo kind of like images with not like too realistic, but more like graphic design kind of, it's a more, I can take an artistic approach as well. So I can play with like slightly old ukiyo-e style drawing with more modern manga style drawing mixed together. So I actually play around.
Yeah, that's what I hoped, and that's the best. On other books I've done with other illustrators, you always hope that there's space for the illustrator to have some fun and think laterally.
Especially when I finished the first panel of the first page, I really pleased myself with those like little wave, foxeye-like waves, and then ukiyo-e style details, with manga twist, so that's I think I really enjoy that.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the first page, I thought I was going to be fine. So it was really nice to see. So it's all come, the idea of this book as well is the role of the imagination in overcoming trauma, really. So if it's done that at all, for your own trauma about the tsunami, it's almost the book doing itself. And I always wanted imagination, and particularly graphic storytelling, to be a big part of how our character deals with what has happened to her. But it took me so long to work out that the manga part would be, perhaps I won't give it away. Perhaps I won't give away the end of the book. But it was so nice to see the pages coming together bit by bit. And although I was worried about you working hard towards the deadline, we didn't really have many revisions, did we? I think it was pretty much.
No, it was surprisingly, you and then the There are actually always say, "Ah, that's good." And I said, "Really? Are you sure?" You know.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Um, so I'm, as I say, I'm incredibly grateful for your work on this project.
Oh,
I hope we're going to get to promote it a bit together.
yes.
And what are you doing next?
At the moment, I actually uh opened my own YouTube channel
Oh, hmm,
because I wanted to show my drawing, time lapse drawing, and also
oh,
I wanted to show some how to draw things because there's some quite a lot of demand on it. So I just opened it a couple of days ago, so
oh
it's not
wow.
like
Yeah.
really running yet. But and then yeah, also there are few things I want to do, my personal project thing. So yeah, so yeah, I have a little bit of time to do my own project.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's what I want. I think it's taken 4 years to do Tsunami Girl from start to finish. Uh,
oh
I'm a slow motion writer, so I need to think what's next, really. So
yeah.
anyway, I will say thank you very much, arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you so much.